a zoo. YouTuber vlogging, backwards cap wearing. Rudy's a zoo. Rudy's a zoo. Rudy's a zoo.
Hi, and welcome to Rudy's the Zoo's Science Fantasy Experience, and to a WWF Retro Collection review. And sadly, I think it's going to be the last one for a long while. At San Diego Comic-Con, they didn't reveal anything for this toy line. They focused on their somewhat odd crossovers that they're doing with Ghostbusters and Masters of the Universe, and the Retro Collection didn't even kind of get any mention, apart from they were taking a hiatus for 2020. So I don't think any more are coming out, at least not for a long time. And there's nothing in previous seasons that I want to kind of collect. I've got the two that I really want. But saying that, if it does come back, I would love for them to take on some of the managers in this style. I would absolutely love a Captain Lou Albano action figure done in this retro collection style. I just think it'd be awesome. But yeah, back to the figure in question. I picked up the sexually ambiguous Goldust. So months back I pre-ordered this, and I pre-ordered it not because it was a wrestler. I pre-ordered it because I wanted some new toy joy, and with that I wanted a new action figure. I didn't kind of approach it thinking, oh, I want to pick up a WWF wrestler, or I want to pick up, you know, a Masters of the Universe or a G.I. Joe. I just want a really interesting action figure that I can play around with, that looks good on the shelf, and just is something different from the norm. And as I was just trawling through pictures of action figures coming out and ones from the last few years, I stumbled across this, and I was just like, wow, a gold action figure. That's something that I've like literally never had. And I was like, that's something that I want. And I was just like, yeah, I like wrestling. You know, I've slowly been getting back into it, you know, through chatting with Dave Shotton all the time. And I whacked in the pre-order. With that, I messaged Dave, and I was just like, oh, I've just put in a pre-order for Goldust. He looks awesome. Not knowing anything about the character, obviously. And he was just like, yeah, Goldust is like super cool, man. I really like Dustin Rhodes. And I'm like, what? Can you repeat that? Dustin Rhodes? Goldust is actually Dustin Rhodes. You mean Dustin Rhodes from WCW, you know, the natural, the all-American Dallas cowboy, big, hefty son of Dusty? And he's just like, yeah. And I'm like, this is incredible. I didn't even know that Dustin Rhodes was Goldust, and I really like Dustin Rhodes. If you've seen my videos before when I've talked about my wrestlers that I've picked up, I love WCW from 92 to like 95, and Dustin Rhodes was just a really good wrestler that I enjoyed, you know, just that all-American, big, muscly, but yet he was still really acrobatic. And it just turns out that he is the action figure that I decided to pick up. Obviously, I went back and had a look at the history of Goldust and took in a couple of wrestling matches, and I couldn't even like believe what an insane and awesome caricature was created for Dustin Rhodes, and how he was unsure about it at first, but then just went with it and just created this whole crazy kind of drag queen, sexually ambiguous mind manipulation, psychological kind of way of wrestling, you know, just slightly touching up and being really overly friendly, but then hitting them with some hardcore power moves. It was incredible. He fought Roddy Piper in a car park with a bright gold Cadillac, you know, being thrown, you know, through the window and running over Roddy. It's just some incredible battles. And he battled loads of other wrestlers that I like the Ultimate Warrior for the Intercontinental Championship belt, and Mankind, again, Mick Foley, another favourite of my wrestlers. And as I was learning more and more about it, Dave messaged me and goes, check this out, this is Goldust, but he's returned back to the natural in the All Elite Wrestling. And I'm like, I don't even know what the All Elite Wrestling is. And he goes, well, it's his brother. It's Cody started this whole brand new kind of faction of wrestling, and it's super cool. And I'm just like, all wrestling's cool, mate. You know that. And he's like, yeah, of course. And he, I think it was like April of this year, he fought his own brother, Cody Rhodes. And he comes out as the natural, but in this black and red, still all makeup get up. And Dustin's like 50. And yet he's still doing acrobatics off the top rope, out of the ring, into his own brother. Bleeding all over the mat, just doing some awesome throws and technique. And I'm just like, how is he still this good at 50, taking on his own brother? It was just an absolute epic match. And you know, it's just kind of, because it's wrestling, there's a little twist at the end where, spoiler alert, Cody wins. But they have this reunion and they then become tag team partners. It was just absolutely epic. I just couldn't believe it. And it really solidified me wanting to get this action figure, from choosing it, not knowing about the wrestler, just wanting a cool action figure, to then wanting an incredibly cool wrestling action figure. So let's have a look at the front of the card. Just like when I picked up the Ultimate Warrior in the wild, it's the same deco on the front, and if I'm repeating myself, it's because they're from the same toy line. It looks like how they did in the early 90s. You know, the logo slightly changed because it's not actually WWF anymore. It's just WW, I believe. It shows how much wrestling knowledge I know about WWF. But yeah, this is incredibly nostalgic. Obviously mine's not going to stay in the package. This is coming out for sure. And then you get to see his curtain call move, which I'm thinking that's why it got called the curtain call, because he was always about being a drag artist and emulating actors and actresses and looking like the Golden Globe Oscar statue-esque type flavour. And you can see that he comes with his accessory of a wig, genius, and then all the gold and the silver and the black accents, and his 1995 debut image. Yeah, the card is super flimsy, and I know that there's probably mint on card collectors that like a bit more robustness when it comes to keeping figures still in the package. But you know, a lot of the time wrestling fans are probably going to want to get them out for sure, and I do anyway. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan. Yes, I like mint on card stuff, but as I've mentioned before, it's always going to be something vintage that stays mint on card, and it's not always going to be on there. Something new is definitely coming out of the package. And then with the back, this is where in some ways the retro collection lets itself down, especially with subsequent series. But you know, it's the way of business, and it's the way of, you know, Mattel and Hasbro, and the way that things work. You know, we live in a digital age, and you're going to make your money from digital mobile games. So you get to see a lot of the bit, but just for me, it takes up a bit too much. If you're going down the route of, you know, this nostalgic retro collection style, I want both sides to look as it did back in the day. You know, the Star Wars, is it the Star Wars Vintage Collection or the Star Wars Retro Collection, whatever they're calling it, they do really well. You know, they have the callbacks like they once were, so you get to see bits of the line. I still think they could have gone with the black and white original illustrations, or they could have done artistic versions of the signature move. I think My Ultimate Warrior was a little bit different, but then again, that was like the first series of this range, and then you get to see the other guys in the wave. You've got Macho Man Randy Savage, Samoa Joe, and is it Randy Orton? Yeah, so there's always two classics and two newer ones. I always think Samoa Joe is quite older now, but Randy Orton's definitely much more newer. I am not entirely sure who Randy Orton is, but obviously I know Macho Man Randy Savage from way back when. So yeah, that is the card. So Goldust is free of the plastic prison, but before we get there, here is the code and the long code and whatever these things are called for the mobile game. Sharing is caring. But here he is, free of the plastic prison, and oh my god, he's awesome. I can't believe how good he is. Comparing him to Ultimate Warrior, I like this even more. Yeah, Ultimate Warrior is, you know, my all-time WWF wrestler, and that one nailed it, and that was right at the start of the retro collection. But I gotta give it to Goldust. I've never owned a completely gold plastic toy before. Yeah, I've had and do have kind of gold plastic vac metalized bits and pieces. My Jason the World Warriors toys, I've got those kind of gold and silver plastic, and there's a couple of Transformers that have that, so I know I need to be careful with those. But this, it's all good. It's incredible. I just kind of want to look at it. Like the face sculpt, it's just got that awesome snarl that Dustin is known for. And you've got the signature curtain call move. You've got all bits of articulation. Tiny bit of leg movement. But yeah, it's more the deco that I absolutely adore. The paintwork on the lines it's absolutely stunning. The detail and the eye makeup, the lip, and obviously the wig. Oh yeah, smell that plastic toy goodness. So yeah, you can either go with the shaved head, white blonde version, or the drag queen androgynous wig. This thing, this character, this action figure, the journey, it's been absolutely awesome. Why does the retro collection have to go on hiatus? Yeah, Junkyard Dog looks kind of cool, and I'd like to get, you know, some more of them, but they just haven't got the characters that I want. But then again, when you've got Goldust, maybe I don't need more. So yeah, this has been the WWF Retro Collection Goldust.